The National Electrical Code Section 230.71 addresses the service disconnecting means. It stipulates that the service disconnecting means for each service shall consist of not more than 6 switches or sets of circuit breakers mounted in a single enclosure, in a group of enclosures, or on a switchboard. The core concept lies in understanding what constitutes the service disconnecting means. The service disconnecting means is the device that allows you to disconnect the electrical service to your home or building. This is your primary method to energize the electrical system from the utility feed. Let's consider a 4-space main lug panel with 4 full-size breakers. The question is whether such a configuration complies with code, specifically section 230.71. A, or whether a back-fed main breaker is still required. A 4-space main lug panel with 4 full-size breakers is not compliant. The key phrase to focus on in section 230.71 is service disconnecting means. In the context of a main lug panel, the main lugs themselves serve as the service disconnecting means. These lugs are where the ungrounded service conductors from the utility connect. Since the main lugs act as the service disconnecting means, they must be mounted in a manner consistent with code, namely within a single enclosure, a group of enclosures, or on a switchboard. 4-space main lug panel with 4 full-size breakers fails to meet this requirement because the main lugs, while housed within the panel, are not equipped with a dedicated disconnecting means separate from the branch breakers. The code intends for a single action to disconnect all power. The typical main lug panel relies on the individual branch circuit breakers to serve as the disconnects for the various circuits. However, the main lugs themselves remain energized unless an upstream disconnecting means is present, and there is no single point of disconnect for the entire panel. In such scenarios, a backfed main breaker fulfills the code requirement. The backfed main breaker is installed in one of the breaker spaces and wired to the main lugs. This breaker now serves as the service disconnecting means for the entire panel. It provides a single point of disconnect, allowing the user to de-energize the entire panel with a single action. When selecting a backfed breaker, it's essential to ensure it's properly secured to the panel with a listed and labeled retaining clip. This prevents the breaker from being accidentally dislodged when disconnecting the service. It's also important to choose a breaker with an amperage rating suitable for the service. Now let's look at some additional considerations related to service disconnecting means. Firstly, the location of the service disconnecting means must be readily accessible. This means it should be easily reachable in case of an emergency. Secondly, the disconnecting means must be clearly labeled to indicate its purpose. This ensures that anyone working on the electrical system can quickly identify and operate the correct disconnect. Thirdly, if more than one service disconnecting means is installed, they must be grouped together. This prevents confusion and ensures that all disconnects are readily identifiable. Fourthly, the disconnecting means must be suitable for the available fault current. This means it must be able to safely interrupt the maximum amount of current that could flow during a fault condition. Fifthly, the disconnecting means must be rated for the voltage and current of the service. This ensures that it can safely handle the electrical load. Sixthly, the disconnecting means must be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. This ensures that it is properly installed and will function correctly. Seventhly, the disconnecting means must be inspected and maintained regularly. This ensures that it remains in good working order and can safely disconnect the service when needed. Eighthly, the disconnecting means must be protected from physical damage. This prevents it from being damaged and becoming unsafe. Ninthly, the disconnecting means must be installed in a dry location. This prevents it from becoming wet and causing a safety hazard. Tenthly, the disconnecting means must be grounded. This provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, helping to protect people from electric shock. Understanding the rules surrounding service disconnecting means is crucial for ensuring electrical safety and code compliance. Always consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that your electrical system meets all applicable requirements. This section of the code is intended to ensure a safe and reliable means of disconnecting power to a building or structure. It's about ensuring that in an emergency or during maintenance, the electrical supply can be quickly and safely isolated. It's worth discussing the concept of service entrance equipment in general. Service entrance equipment includes all the components between the serving utility's connection point and the building's main distribution panel. This equipment typically includes the service conductors, the meter, the service disconnect, and the grounding system. Each of these components plays a crucial role in ensuring the safe and reliable delivery of electrical power. The service conductors are the wires that bring power from the utility to the building. These conductors must be sized appropriately for the expected load and must be protected from physical damage. The meter measures the amount of electricity consumed by the building. It's important to ensure that the meter is properly installed and functioning correctly. The grounding system provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, helping to protect people from electric shock. The grounding system must be properly installed and maintained to ensure its effectiveness. Let's elaborate on the different types of service disconnecting means. Firstly, there's the main circuit breaker. This is the single breaker that disconnects all power to the building. Secondly, there's the fuse disconnect switch. This is a switch that uses fuses to protect the electrical system from overcurrents. Thirdly, there's the service entrance rated panel board. This is a panel board that is specifically designed for use as service entrance equipment. Fourthly, there's the multiple disconnects. In some cases, it may be necessary to use more than one service disconnecting means. For example, if a building has multiple tenants, each tenant may have their own service disconnect. Now let's consider some common scenarios where the service disconnect rules apply. Firstly, when installing a new electrical service, the service disconnect must comply with the code. Secondly, when upgrading an existing electrical service, the service disconnect may need to be upgraded to comply with the code. Thirdly, when replacing a service panel, the new panel must have a service disconnect that complies with the code. Fourthly, when adding a generator to an electrical system, the generator must have a transfer switch that complies with the code. Understanding these scenarios can help ensure that electrical work is done safely and in accordance with code. It's also important to remember that electrical codes can vary depending on the local jurisdiction. Always check with the local authorities to ensure that electrical work complies with all applicable requirements. It's worth delving into the specific requirements for backfed breakers. Firstly, a backfed breaker must be securely fastened in place. This is typically accomplished with a retaining clip that prevents the breaker from being accidentally dislodged. Secondly, a backfed breaker must be clearly labeled to indicate that it is backfed. This helps to prevent confusion and ensures that anyone working on the electrical system knows that the breaker is energized from the load side. Thirdly, the amperage rating of the backfed breaker must be appropriate for the service. This ensures that the breaker can safely interrupt the maximum amount of current that could flow during a fault condition. Fourthly, the backfed breaker must be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instruction. This ensures that it is properly installed and will function correctly. Let's discuss the importance of grounding. Grounding is a critical safety feature that provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source. This helps to protect people from electric shock and prevents damage to electrical equipment. The grounding system typically consists of a grounding electrode, such as a ground rod or a metal water pipe, and a grounding conductor that connects the grounding electrode to the service panel. The grounding conductor must be sized appropriately for the service and must be protected from physical damage. It's also important to ensure that all metal enclosures, such as service panels and junction boxes, are properly grounded. Now let's consider the different types of grounding systems. Firstly, there's the grounded system. In a grounded system, one of the service conductors is intentionally grounded. This is the most common type of grounding system. Secondly, there's the ungrounded system. In an ungrounded system, none of the service conductors are intentionally grounded. Ungrounded systems are typically used in industrial applications where a high degree of reliability is required. Let's talk more about readily accessible. Readily accessible means capable of being reached quickly for operation, renewal, or inspections without requiring those to whom ready access is requisite to climb over or remove obstacles or to resort to portable ladders, and so forth. The service disconnecting means needs to be readily accessible as defined by the code so that the fire department or other emergency responders can cut off the electrical supply to the building in a timely manner. Now let's expand upon the requirements of labeling. Proper labeling of electrical equipment is crucial for safety and efficient operation. The service disconnecting means must be clearly labeled to identify its purpose and function. This labeling should be durable, legible, and permanently fixed to the equipment. Furthermore, all circuits within the panel board should be clearly labeled to indicate the loads they serve. This labeling helps to prevent confusion and ensures that anyone working on the electrical system can quickly identify and energize the correct circuits. It's also important to label the voltage and amperage ratings of all equipment. This information is essential for selecting the correct replacement components and for ensuring that the electrical system is not overloaded. In addition to labeling, it's also important to maintain accurate and up-to-date electrical drawings. These drawings should show the location of all electrical equipment, the wiring diagrams, and the circuit schedules. Electrical drawings are invaluable for troubleshooting problems and for making modifications to the electrical system. The National Electrical Code Article 110.22 covers the identification of disconnecting means. Each disconnecting means must be legibly marked to indicate its purpose unless located and arranged so the purpose is evident. The marking must be durable enough to withstand the environment involved. Now let's address the grouping of disconnecting means. If a building has more than one service, each service must have its own disconnecting means. These disconnecting means must be grouped together in a readily accessible location. This grouping helps to prevent confusion and ensures that all services can be easily disconnected in an emergency. In some cases, it may be necessary to install multiple disconnecting means for a single service. For example, if a building has a large electrical load, it may be necessary to install multiple service panels, each with its own disconnecting means. In these cases, all of the disconnecting means must be grouped together and clearly labeled to indicate that they serve the same service. Let's dive deeper into the available fault current. The available fault current is the maximum amount of current that could flow during a short circuit or ground fault. The service disconnecting means must be rated to safely interrupt this amount of current. If the available fault current exceeds the interrupting rating of the disconnecting means, the equipment could be damaged or destroyed, and there could be a risk of fire or electric shock. It's important to calculate the available fault current at the service entrance and to select a disconnecting means with an appropriate interrupting rating. The available fault current can be calculated using a variety of methods, including using a fault current calculator or consulting with a qualified electrical engineer. It's also important to consider the potential for future increases in the available fault current. As the electrical grid evolves and more renewable energy sources are added, the available fault current may increase. Therefore, it's prudent to select a disconnecting means with an interrupting rating that is higher than the current calculated value. Let's delve further into the topic of voltage and current ratings. The service disconnecting means must be rated for the voltage and current of the service. The voltage rating of the disconnecting means must be equal to or greater than the voltage of the service. The current rating of the disconnecting means must be equal to or greater than the maximum current that the service is expected to carry. It's important to select a disconnecting means with appropriate voltage and current ratings to ensure that it can safely handle the electrical load. It's also important to consider the ambient temperature when selecting a disconnecting means. The current carrying capacity of a conductor decreases as the ambient temperature increases. Therefore, it may be necessary to select a disconnecting means with a higher current rating if it is installed in a high-temperature environment. Let's explore the manufacturer's instructions more thoroughly. The service disconnecting means must be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. The manufacturer's instructions provide detailed information on how to install the equipment safely and correctly. It's important to read and follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully to ensure that the equipment will function properly and will not pose a safety hazard. The manufacturer's instructions typically cover a variety of topics, including the mounting requirements, the wiring connections, the grounding requirements, and the testing procedures. It's also important to retain a copy of the manufacturer's instructions for future reference. This information may be needed for troubleshooting problems or for making modifications to the electrical system. Let's expand on the need for regular inspections and maintenance. The service disconnecting means must be inspected and maintained regularly. Regular inspections and maintenance can help to identify potential problems before they become serious safety hazards. The inspection should include a visual check of the equipment for any signs of damage or wear. The maintenance should include cleaning the equipment and tightening any loose connections. It's also important to test the operation of the disconnecting means periodically to ensure that it is functioning correctly. The frequency of inspections and maintenance will depend on the environment in which the equipment is installed and the type of equipment. However, it's generally recommended to inspect and maintain the service disconnecting means at least once a year. Let's consider the protection from physical damage more closely. The service disconnecting means must be protected from physical damage. Physical damage can compromise the integrity of the equipment and can create a safety hazard. The equipment should be installed in a location where it is not likely to be struck by vehicles or other objects. The equipment should also be protected from moisture and corrosion. If the equipment is installed in a hazardous location, it must be protected by an enclosure that is specifically designed for that environment. Let's delve more deeply into the requirement for a dry location. The service disconnecting means must be installed in a dry location. Moisture can cause corrosion and can create a safety hazard. The equipment should be installed in a location where it is not exposed to rain, snow, or other sources of moisture. If the equipment is installed in a wet location, it must be protected by an enclosure that is specifically designed for that environment. The National Electrical Code provides specific requirements for enclosures used in wet locations. Let's discuss the concept of grounding in greater detail. The service disconnecting means must be grounded. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, helping to protect people from electric shock. The grounding system typically consists of a grounding electrode, such as a ground rod or a metal water pipe, and a grounding conductor that connects the grounding electrode to the service panel. The grounding conductor must be sized appropriately for the service and must be protected from physical damage. It's also important to ensure that all metal enclosures, such as service panels and junction boxes, are properly grounded. The National Electrical Code provides specific requirements for grounding electrical systems. By understanding these rules, you can ensure a safe and compliant electrical installation. Remember, when in doubt, always consult with a licensed electrician.